And a good Wednesday morning to you. We're coming on the air early with some breaking news. Hurricane Idalia now slamming Florida's Gulf Coast after rapidly intensifying into a major Category 4 storm overnight. That region feeling destructive winds, set to experience a potentially catastrophic storm surge. Al is with us this morning. He's tracking the path of the storm right now. Where is it now, buddy?
Well, it's right now 55 miles west-northwest of Cedar Key, Florida, right along the Big Bend. This area never really in modern history seeing a hurricane come on shore. 130-mile-per-hour winds. It's moving northeast at 17 miles per hour. The hurricane warnings now extend from Tampa all the way up into Georgia and parts of South Carolina. Tropical storm warnings and hurricane watches as well. So, Craig, we've got 18 million people impacted by this. We'll have the path and the impacts coming up in just a bit.
All right, we'll come back to you in just a few moments. Thank you. Our correspondents are fanned out across that storm zone. We're going to start with NBC's Gabe Gutierrez. He's in Perry, Florida. This is the area that Al just mentioned there. How are things looking right now, Gabe?
Hi there, Craig. Good morning. We're here in Perry, Florida, as you mentioned, and this is right in the hurricane's crosshairs. The wind has been picking up here over the last half hour or so, and we're getting pelted with rain, and we expect that really to intensify over the next hour or so, potentially, as this hurricane makes landfall. Now, Craig, this area is actually about 20 miles inland. This is not a heavily populated area. The wetlands here in the Big Bend region are probably going to be hit with the highest wind speed here, but there is still a lot of concern for this area. Taylor County actually closed its emergency shelter yesterday and bused residents to a nearby county. And the police are saying that once the wind speeds here reach 45 miles an hour, they're not going to be able to help residents. So there was a mandatory evacuation order underway. Again, right now we still have power in this area, but the winds are continuing to pick up, and we expect the conditions here to deteriorate over the next hour and into the morning, Craig.
All right. Again, Gabe Gutierrez there in Big Bend. And for folks who may not be familiar with the area, that Big Bend area, essentially the area that connects the peninsula to the panhandle there in Florida. Again, a region that has not seen a hurricane, no exaggeration here, since the 1850s, according to the National Weather Service. Ahead of the storm, mandatory evacuations were issued for hundreds of thousands on the barrier islands of Pinellas County. That's just across from Tampa, and that is where we find NBC's Marissa Parra. She's there for us. Marissa, what's the scene like on the ground there in Tampa?
Hey, so what you're seeing over my shoulder is the Tampa Bay rising over the break wall over there. And the thing to remember here is we are in a Zone A mandatory evacuation area. You can tell with good reason, for good reason. Right next to me is Tampa General Hospital. And they came prepared because we've known for some time, Craig, that this was not going to be in the direct path of Idalia. But we knew, too, that the most concern here was with the storm surge, with the flooding. So over there, what you're seeing, those are called aqua fences. Those are meant to protect Tampa General Hospital because this is the region's only level 1 trauma center in the Tampa Bay area. So we have seen a lot of flooding in the area. Tampa Bay is no stranger to that flooding, and that is something that we were seeing in Treasure Island. We're seeing over in St. Petersburg, that peninsula. We know that one of the bridges has been closed down because of 50-mile-per-hour winds. And when we talk about when that concern is going to go away, well, not anytime soon, because if you had come out to me 10 minutes ago, it was totally clear conditions were fine, and then this band came through. We're going to be seeing this off and on throughout the day, Greg. And one other thing, you know, it's not just the storm surge. When we have these outer bands, even though we are not in the direct path of Idalia, the other concern are those tornadoes with the outer bands. So we're under tornado watch along with about half the state right now, Craig.
All right, Marissa Parra there in Tampa. Marissa, stay safe. We'll check in with you in just a bit as well. Of course, that region, no stranger to storms, but as we said, Idalia could go down in history as the first to produce hurricane-force winds in Florida state capital. And that is where we find NBC's Maggie Vespa. Maggie is in Tallahassee for us. Maggie, it looks and sounds like it's coming down pretty hard there as well.
Yeah, Craig, it definitely is. And as you know, Tallahassee, because we've been following this forecast, obviously, for days, it really wasn't in kind of the path of the storm, so to speak. At least a lot of people around here weren't that concerned really until yesterday. And that's when Idalia kind of tracked west a little bit. And now we've got this really populated area, the wind picking up. As you can hear, 200,000 plus people. Again, as you said, Florida State Capitol, home to Florida State University, Florida A&M. Now this area is really concerned. A lot of people we saw out filling sandbags kind of frantically yesterday. But I want to show you that a lot of the businesses around here, you can pan over to this window, they're not boarded up. People here really weren't as concerned or haven't been as concerned for days on end, like their counterparts kind of farther east and farther south. And point out, we are kind of in the outer bands of this, so a lot of people worried most about wind, about downed trees, about power outages. Gabe talked about emergency crews out on the roads. The local sheriff doing interviews this morning saying once winds here get to 35 miles per hour sustained, that is when they will also not be able to be out on the roads. Deputies can't be out driving around and basically not helping people who aren't prepared for a storm of this strength rolling through. But again, Tallahassee, an incredibly populated area, as we point out, a college town, the capital of Florida, now newly in the path of this storm, and a lot of people very worried as it rolls in. Right.
All right, Maggie Vespa there in Tallahassee. Maggie, thank you. Just a few moments ago, we were there in Tampa. Let's go 80 miles north of Tampa. This is Crystal River, Florida. NBC's Tom Yamas riding out of Idalia there in Crystal River. Tom, what's the scene like there?
Hey, Craig, good morning. Great to be with you. So we're feeling some of those outer bands from Hurricane Idalia right now. This is the strongest the rain has hit us so far this morning. We've gotten a little bit of power outages here and there. We just took a power hit about 30 minutes ago. The wind right now is not a problem here, and it shouldn't be for this area, but it's all this water, right? Just behind me here, this may look like a road here, but this is actually a canal, and this is the big fear, right? Because the rain is just picking up right now. The tide looks to be going out, but it's going to be coming in very shortly, and it's that king tide, that 2 feet elevation from the storm surge that's coming in here. You know, they say when you cover hurricanes, Craig, the wind hurts you, the water kills you, and that's the big fear here. Worst case scenario, 12-foot storm surge. I would be underwater if that happens. They are praying that doesn't happen here in Crystal River. I've spoken to a lot of residents who got out, but I also spoke to a lot who said they're going to wait. And now that time has come and gone. You cannot get out in these conditions. The county sheriff here telling me that he's going to pull his troopers off the road once the winds get to 30 to 35 miles per hour. That should be in a short time from now. So, again, the big concern here in Crystal River is the water, is that storm surge. As you've been reporting, here in the Big Bend, they have never, ever seen anything like this. This is a historical part of the state of Florida. A lot of tourists come here to swim with the manatees. Obviously, it's all closed now. It is under an evacuation order, and we'll be out here reporting throughout the storm. Craig, I'm going to send it back over to you.
All right, Tom Yamas there in Florida as well, Crystal River. Tom, thank you so much again. Stay safe, buddy. Mr. Roker is back now with a look at where that storm is, where it's headed. We heard a number of the correspondents talk about the possibility of tornadoes as well.
Yeah, in fact, Craig, this area, this pink area that's outlined, this is all a tornado watch that goes until 3 this afternoon. But down here between Sebring and Sarasota, we've got tornado warnings, and this is going to be a problem all day long into tonight. You can see we've got wind gusts. Perry, 38 miles per hour, 29 mile per hour wind gust in Tallahassee. Tampa, 58 mile per hour wind gust right now. And you can see those feeder bands, the heavy bands, starting to work their way in as Idalia gets closer. Now, here's the path. We make our way through. But look at this. It is still a Category 2 hurricane coming across southern Georgia. It's a tropical storm going over Charleston and then out into the Atlantic by Thursday afternoon. Here are the impacts we're looking at. Destructive winds with widespread power and communication outages. We're already seeing those, as we heard from everybody. Impassable roads, danger of falling trees, and wind gusts up to 80 miles per hour. The tornado risk through tonight from Orlando, Valdosta, Georgia, Savannah, Charleston, all the way up to Wilmington. And this is not uncommon. Usually, again, in that right front quadrant of the storm, as it comes across, that's the most violent part of the storm. And so that's where we will see those tornadoes possible. And, of course, the flooding rain. Isolated 12-inch amounts from Tallahassee, Florida, all the way to Wilmington, Delaware, and that's why we have a flash flood risk, a moderate flood risk from Tallahassee all the way up to Wilmington. So, Craig, this is a very dangerous situation, but the storm surge is going to be one of the biggest problems.
Okay, buddy. We will be spending lots of time with you throughout the course of the morning. Of course, we will have much more on Hurricane Idalia, now a Category 4 storm, and its impact starting at 7 a.m. right here on Today. But for now, we'll return you to your regularly scheduled program. This has been an NBC News special report.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.